Hey, what's up, everybody? Hitman BK here, and we got another video coming out for Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. And I have been active on Twitter. I've been in the end game. I put in over just about 2 days, almost 2 days, I think, worth of time into the game currently. I'm on mastery level almost 20. I think that's when you open up the tier 2 Bane set. And I wanted to talk to y'all about the fact that I don't think we actually killed the Justice League, uh, and uh, and I'll tell you why. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think about the game. Tell me what you think about this theory, and I'll also kind of go into a little bit as well as what we can expect moving forward. That I think is really crucial. That a lot of it's going really unnoticed. So maybe I can help a little bit with that when we get back. Why the Justice League is still alive. Okie dokie. All right. Obviously, this is going to be huge spoilers, y'all. So this is my opinion at first. I will go into other things as well, as to how I maybe more spoiler territory based on some leaks. But this right now is my opinion based on playing the full game. I'm not going to show any clips right now because sometimes when I do, for some reason, right now with WB, I get flagged for copyright material. So I'm just going to break it down for y'all. You can stare at my pretty face, or listen to me if you want. Just put me in the background and enjoy the sound of my voice. So, yeah, I don't think the Justice League is dead. So, huge spoilers. Obviously, the title of the game is Kill the Justice League, and at the end of the game, you officially have encountered and defeated Flash, Green Lantern, Batman, and Superman. And there's a lot in those fights and in the dialogue that's going on between Batman and some things in the game that I think is really interesting that I don't see a lot of people talking about. I could be completely wrong, but I wanted to put on my little narrative hat. I'm a video guy. I used to make movies. I worked in film. I like to think I'm pretty good at figuring out narratives and thinking about stories and what could be happening. And I'm not always right, and sometimes this may be a bit far-fetched, and it could be just as simple as, Lex Luthor got his heart ripped out and then Lex Luthor was alive because we pulled him from Earth 2, and there's no reason to stop Rocksteady from pulling each Justice League from each version of Earth that we will encounter in each season, right? So that could be very much the example, but this is what I think. Whenever you fight the Flash, if y'all remember, when you get to the Flash, the first thing you do is you actually capture the Flash, and Boomerang cuts off his finger, right? It's kind of like a whole joke. And then it's actually a great joke to the whole thing where he wants to cut off each Justice League member's finger. It's freaking hilarious. I actually thought that was pretty great. But why is that important? Well, it's pretty interesting because when Flash becomes evil, which is relatively like in a day, like let's just assume it's in a day, he's got all 10 fingers. Obviously, I know Flash can go back in time. He can regenerate, but that man regenerated an entire finger in under a day, which is pretty interesting. And then there's also the fact that they light him up in the bus when you meet Lex, and then he ends up surviving that and having to run off. And after he runs off, you've got dialogue that goes on, in case you missed it, during the game where Batman's saying Flash needs time to recuperate. He says the same thing actually about Superman later on. And come back to life and all this other stuff that Brainiac can do to get him prepared for the fight. That's pretty interesting. The second thing, a lot of people actually commented on this because they thought that Rocksteady didn't know how Green Lanterns work, but obviously when you defeat the Green Lantern, his ring doesn't just automatically come off, and Shark tries to get it, and he can't get it off of him, and he actually ends up ripping his finger off, and then still has a hard time, and then manages to get it off and put it on his finger, which this stuff has happened, by the way, before in other comic books, but I'm not going to get into that. And you'll notice when he's dead, the dialogue is that the shield's not down, right? So that's interesting. If he was dead, theoretically the ring should have come off. I think Rocksteady knows how Green Lantern stuff works, so just keep that in mind. Then you have the Batman fight, which is actually one of my favorite fights in the game. But when it's over and he's on the ground, I don't know if y'all noticed, but that man is full of bullet holes. I mean, there are bullet holes everywhere. Then he goes and gets poked and prodded by Lex Luthor. Batman actually has the worst go of it out of any of them, which is pretty sad. And I can see why some people are adverse to it because it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough what happens to Batman. But yes, you notice if you look at it, he's full of bullet holes, and somehow he's still alive. And then there's the really big one where Superman takes a kryptonite giant thing to the chest, deep into his chest, and then still manages to laser beam Wonder Woman to her death. I do think Wonder Woman is actually dead, by the way. So those are four things to consider. And then at the very end of the game, when you are with Brainiac, he actually says, "Yeah, you defeated my Justice League." He then states that he wants to take you and turn you into essentially like mindless husk and assimilate you. So why am I saying all this stuff? I think whatever has happened before Brainiac arrived and the Justice League probably went and encountered him, they were somehow captured, and he actually still has them and has been experimenting on them and using them to create the Flash enemies, the Batman enemies, and the Green Lantern enemies that we see, because he's still somehow siphoning their power, and because it's still in all the enemies. So he definitely has been using their genetic material to do that. What's stopping him from actually having made genetic material to create some sort of clone or connected other being to the Justice League? And not only would that crush humanity to see your heroes turned evil, so it's a good way to trick everyone, and also it would make a lot of sense in terms of like why these things happen the way they do in the game when we are defeating and or some of the things are playing out. I know the wrinkle in that is when Wonder Woman grabs the Flash and then eventually he like zones out and says you have to kill us all. But if you also watch that scene too, it looks like he reconnects somehow to whatever it is and then goes bad again. And he didn't really get to finish saying what he was saying. He just said, "You have to kill us, Diana." And it very well could have been, "You have to kill like these versions of us." That's my big tinfoil hat thinking theory on. I think we have killed some sort of clone, some sort of digital copy of the Justice League, and they're actually still alive on the ship or maybe in another Earth is kind of what I'm thinking. And then if you look at the final boss fight of the game, right, it's a Brainiac Flash where Brainiac actually literally transforms himself into Flash. A lot of people don't like it. And narratively, if what I'm saying is true, this makes a whole lot of sense. Like Brainiac is assimilating the heroes and then using them to continue to grow himself and his army so he can continue to take over this multiverse. And when you beat him and you pull up the map, you can actually pull up all the fights you're going to do in the next seasons and see that there are 2 Brainiac fights per each part per each season. So that means essentially every 6 weeks we're going to get 2 new Brainiac fights. We will eventually run out of the Justice League, so I'll be curious to see who we're fighting once we have fought the Flash, which is in the base game. The part 1 for season 1 looks like it's Green Lantern and Superman, and then that leaves Batman. So who knows how that goes? But if you look at that and you think about what they're doing as a whole, and it could be really cool. This is clearly going to play out. They clearly have a narrative for the year that is going to lay out over the year that is going to before I continue that, but that they have a narrative that goes for the year. And I think that narrative is going to be explaining what actually happened to the Justice League and getting them back either per season or maybe at the 3rd or 4th season, finding out they're still alive and going to save them. And then everybody coming together to take out Brainiac. I think that's how the game's going to end. The actual ending 1 year from now will be that. So does that mean that your complaints aren't valid when everybody's complaining? If you want to complain, I'm going to get off that high horse before I do that. Hang on. So that's what I think what happened with Justice League. This is why I don't think they're actually dead. And that's how I kind of see the story playing out. And the reason I wanted to make this video too is because there's so much negativity about this game, which I find really interesting. And I'm totally fine with the fact that if you don't like the live service because of the way stories roll out in live service games traditionally, I'm totally with you. I can understand that frustration. It doesn't feel good to have content drip to you, but that is the nature of those games. And if you're looking at this as a live service fan, like if you're Paul Tassi, for example, and you're complaining about the way that that's happening, that to me, that's what kills me, is you see these journalists out there complaining, but they're like, on the other hand, like so far up Destiny, it's not even funny. And Destiny is the worst about dragging out a camp. We still don't even know. Destiny still isn't over, and it's been going on for a decade. Like they've been doing it far longer than the Suicide Squad has been, and if anything, with way less organization and structure. So I just think that, to me, that's just crazy. Like, yes, that is the nature of live service games. This is a live service game. They never hid that. So in that is the rollout of a story over the course of time, which is very tied and true to live service. And why I'm excited and why I think Suicide Squad does it so well goes back to how, when you look at what they're doing per each season and the way they want to tell the story. And if I'm right, we'll come back a year from now, we can bookmark this video and I'll celebrate a really good narrative. And it's really cool to see, in case you guys don't know this, it is essentially every 6 weeks there will be what looks like 2 new boss fights, a new incursion zone, a new Earth, essentially, right? So the next Earth is going to be, I think, Two-Face. So that Bane thing you see is going to shuffle over, and you're going to see Two-Face, and you're going to have a whole other version of Metropolis to go to with Two-Face, notorious or infamous sets, just like you have Bane, and all new sets of weapons, new boss fights, new modes, new activities, and a new playable character. That is a lot of content. The playable character is just one time per season, but all the stuff I just said rolls out every 6 weeks. So then 6 weeks again, you're going to have 2 new boss fights plus whatever else they put out. And the reason why I keep saying the 2 new boss fights too is because if you pull up the Brainiac hit list, there are 4 tiers of them, and 2s, 2 and 2, 2 and 2, 2 and 2. It's very clear that every part's going to feature 2 new Brainiac fights per each. So that is where I am like the most excited. That is what got me on board with this game, because I was not. I'm a huge Rocksteady fan. I'm a huge comic book fan. I wasn't vibing with the fact that this was going to be live service. I thought, why would you do that? You've made one of the best single player games, Batman series of all times. What are you doing? And then playing it, one, it's super fun to play, and then 2, just looking at their content rollout, it looks really good, and there's no reason to assume they won't deliver. The game isn't broken like Avengers was. They're not going to be spending months patching things. The end game feels good. It's not very deep right now. I will agree, once you hit the end game, if you are not the average person, by the way, and you put in copious amounts of hours and you are now mastery level 30, you have played the same incursions a whole bunch of times. I get that. You're going to replay the same Brainiac boss fight that was in the base game. I get that. And now you have to wait 6 weeks to get new stuff. And that can be kind of frustrating, I suppose, but the average person doesn't pull that off in 1 week when the game comes out. So if you're looking at almost the Diablo effect of a casual player coming in to play a live service game, they are going to be met with a content rollout that keeps them playing for the entire year and never run stale, because it's going to be updated with all this new stuff on a 6 weeks cadence for the year. That is ridiculous. I mean, that's, if they pull that off, then this will be like one of the best live service style games, right? Where this content drips out to you, that I've ever played. Way better than Destiny, which, by the way, you pay $15 a season for, and all of this is free. So it's a really big head scratcher as to why live service or looter shooter fans aren't vibing with this, although it does seem like they're starting to, which is kind of funny. Now that they're getting into end game and they're figuring things out, they're starting to like it more. And I can also see the press there on how frustrating it is to kind of figure out what those systems are, because they aren't actually rolled out to you probably in the most like digestible way, but that was a choice. That's what they made, and they can remedy that, and videos like this can help you figure it out. But all that is to say, that's why I don't think the Justice League is dead. I think that this is going to be a really strong year's worth of content that rolls out to a penultimate, I don't even know that word, can't say it right, fight against Brainiac. And it helps too that Miller, who a lot of people have called out that he lied because people were dead at the end of this game. He never lied. He actually stated that, I think in the 3rd or 4th season, I don't think he actually knows, that the Justice League are coming back. He doesn't really know how, but he's data mined that. He's been right about everything else. He was right about Joker. He's right about all 3 of the DLC characters. We know what they're going to be. If you want to know what they are, I'll tell you in 3, 2, 1. It's going to be Nora Frost. It's going to be Lawson's daughter, and then it's going to be Deathstroke after the Joker. Those are the 3. And that's confirmed. If you look at the roadmap picture, you can literally see that he was right, because he also called out what they're going to be doing, which is using a freeze gun or some sort to create ice to create her travel for Nora Frost. Lawson's daughter is going to be doing grap boots, and Deathstroke looks like he kind of like whips and acrobats around, which is pretty cool. So if you take all that into consideration, all of this beef and all this craziness about killing the Justice League is honestly so stupid, because it would be like getting real pissed off that at the end of Endgame, Thanos snaps everybody out of existence. But no one got mad because you knew there was going to be a part 2. And it wasn't like, oh my God, Thanos just killed everyone. He killed Vision twice and made Scarlet Witch watch. I mean, come on, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, the story's not over. So, yeah. I will make another video later, I think, doing this again. Maybe I can even show y'all all the stuff. I'll pull out the clips if you want me to. Sound off in the comments if you think that'll help sell this. But if you go back and watch it, if you really start thinking about it, there are just a lot of little moments and the things in the dialogue, especially with Brainiac when he says, "You killed my Justice League." They just actually released a trailer where I think the first line in it is like, "My Justice League is coming for you." Like, y'all, Rocksteady they're good writers. And I don't think they would use that kind of like, it's an interesting verbiage to use instead of just saying you killed the Justice League. By making it singular makes it sound like he made them. So I guess we will wait and see and find out. I hope y'all are enjoying the game. We do have still openings in the Filthy Casual clan. If you would like to join, please sound off in the comments. I can send you an invite and I get you in on our Discord if you would like to do that as well. If you're enjoying these videos, like and subscribe. I'm going to try to make build videos. I don't do it often. I do all this for fun, and I have 2 girls and a bunch of jobs. I do a whole bunch of stuff, but I love making this stuff for anybody who's interested and for people who follow me. So if you would like to see more, what do you want to see? If you want to engage in a conversation with this, I'm all about it. We do a podcast every Friday. I'd be happy to have someone on to discuss Justice League Endgame or Justice League story and what could be coming up, if that is something you might find something that you might want to do. In the meantime, until next time, keep being good humans. I'm Hitman BK. Like, subscribe. I'll see you next time.